Hey guys, Ike here from IkesOutdoors.com. I got a little tip for you today on how to set up your pull-up rope for when you're bow hunting. This is how I set mine up, and there's a couple things I do to mine to make them just a little bit easier to use. Now, the kind of rope you use is up to you. I like a small rope, small diameter rope, because it's just going to take up less room and it's going to be less noticeable for the deer. This red and white, or red and black, I'm sorry, I've had this for a couple years and had no trouble with it, keeping it concealed, keeping it away from the deer or anything like that. So even really the color doesn't matter to me, as long as it's not nothing really bright, you know, something like that. But the first thing I do is when I get this stuff, I bought this at Walmart. It's just a cheap imitation paracord. It's not the real paracord, and you guys who know anything about paracord, you know there is a difference in the real stuff and what this stuff is. But it's just a cheap imitation paracord, and first thing I do with it is I run out about 30 foot of rope and cut it off. The reason I use 30 foot, I'll show you in a minute, is because the way I set mine up, you're actually going to lose a little bit of it. I try not to get higher than 20 feet. Occasionally I've had to in the past, but I don't plan on getting 30 foot off the ground. But I'm going to show you why I cut 30 foot here in a minute. First thing I do is on the end of it, after I cut it, I tie it in a knot, and then I just burn the end of it to keep it from getting all frayed out. So on the other end, I go to Walmart, same area where you buy this rope. I buy just a cheap little D-loop, or just a cheap little carabiner. All this is just a cheap little carabiner. And then I'll take some Plastidip, that just spray on Plastidip. I've got a can of it, we'll show you in just a minute. And I just take this and just spray it down with some of that cheap Plastidip. The can of it's like $7, and you can do a lot of these little carabiners for that. And you may not have to, but one of the things I don't like about it is that it's shiny. And the other thing I don't like about it is it can make a little bit of noise when it's banging up against the tree stand and stuff. The Plastidip's not going to completely eliminate that, but it will help just a little bit. So same thing here, I tie just a simple little knot on here that I know is not going to come undone, and I burn the end of this side as well to keep it from fraying. Now, the one thing I do that's a little bit different than other people do, and using this small diameter rope, especially if you got gloves or something on, it can slip out of your hands real easy. It's just not a lot to hang on to. So I'll drop my carabiner on the ground there, and I'll go up just as I'm sitting down, just about head level, and I'll reach down, I'll grab just like that, and I'll tie just a simple, I don't know, figure eight, whatever this thing's called, half hitch, something like that. I'll tie one right there, and this is why I use 30 foot, because I'm gonna lose just a little bit of that. Again, drop that loop down on the ground about head high. I'm gonna grab it, I'm gonna tie another one in there, just a small loop, just about big enough for me to put my hand in. And that's exactly what these are for. So I'm gonna go all the way through this and do that. Now, when you get something on the end of this thing that's heavy, you know, my bow, when I put on my camera gear and everything, my pack and all that stuff with it, it can get pretty heavy. My pack can weigh upwards of 25 to 30 pounds depending on what I've got in there. If I've got my camera, I've got my camera arm, I've got everything like that in there, it can get up quite a bit. The other thing I use this rope for is when I'm hanging tree stands. So when you get up there and you've got this end up there, when you reach down, you can reach down and you can grab that handle. You can put your hand right there, you can pull it up, and then there's your other one. When you pull that one up, it's going to make it just about the right height apart, and it's going to make it to where, or for me, it's the right height. You guys may have to adjust it. But that easy, it makes it that much easier to get a hold of it and make sure that you're not going to drop this thing. This stuff slips out of your hands pretty easy. This stuff makes, you can slip out of this thing, you can let go of it on accident, especially if your hands are cold, if you got gloves on. And you can drop your bow, you can drop your gear. I've done it. I know, that's why I came up with this. And with that, you've got something good and solid to put your hands in to bring this thing up. If you need to, you can get both hands on it and you can pull it up, especially when you're hanging tree stands. Because if you're hanging a big, heavy tree stand, this really does come in pretty handy. So that's how I set my rope up. Next thing I got to do, I got to grab that Plastidip and got to Plastidip that carabiner, which will splice in here somehow. And that's it. That's how I set my rope up. And this one's ready to go to the woods. I will recommend with that Plastidip, if you're going to use the Plastidip on here, I recommend it highly to lessen some noise, but definitely do it well in advance of season. Get rid of some of that smell and things like that. So for more tips, how-to videos, product reviews, be sure to check out our website, ikesoutdoors.com. Appreciate you guys watching.